Hi all. I'm going to quickly go over some of the new Russian winter wheat weather. I decided to do this via video. I think it's a lot easier to get out the information to you quickly, and it also allows me to do it multiple times, either a day or a week, and especially as we get into the summer season in the Northern Hemisphere, where there's kind of urgent things that need to get out to people. Allows me to get the information to you more quickly and also in a manner that you can better understand. And the best part is you don't have to sit there and read the whole PowerPoint. So still getting used to it a little bit, make sure the recording's working. But we're looking at mostly with Russia winter wheat is we're moving into the key periods for yield. I'll show you here shortly some of the correlations. Um, but as we move through here, I want to point out quickly for those that don't know, here's three major regions of focus: the center region, the Volga region, and the southern region. Obviously, the southern does have the primary growing area about 61%. Over the past 10 years is their average. And the southern district is also further along. You'll see in the correlations that it's closer to the quote unquote peak of influence. It isn't there obviously, but it's closer than say center or Volga region. So what I'm looking at here are two charts. They're going to show the key periods and what we call the correlation flip. The correlation flip relates to the temperature. In the winter, the temperature has a positive impact on yield, where if it's warmer, you get more better yield. If it's cooler, you get worse yield. And then it flips in the spring. In contrast, precipitation really does not have a strong correlation until moving into actually more April than anything. And in here, I'm using a rolling 30-day and a rolling 45-day for both the precipitation and the temperature, just to give us a better idea, kind of how when you move through it, just is more clear. So these two charts are using the major growing area, which are kind of just highlighted area here, kind of goes across here. So it's probably about 80% of the crop growing area. And what we're looking at is correlations with the national, so the Russian national percent of trend yield. You can see here, January 1st, starting out, and this warmth, or this as it moves through, the positive correlations here with both temperatures as peak in March. That means the past 30 or the past 45 days, if they're warm, they have better correlation with higher yields. And that is what we saw this year. We saw record warmth. We saw incredibly low winter kill. I mean, that is a factor that I think that we do need to consider outside of just the fact, okay, it's dry, is how much of an influence does that have? So that's one of the things I'm looking further into is any type of analog years like this. Was there a year that it was extremely warm in the winter and then dry in the spring? Um, as we should see shortly, this dryness might change in the forecast here. So on the right side here, same exact type graph, except we're using the 45-day and the 90-day drought index. The usefulness of this is not necessarily the ability to create a nice model off of it. However, it's smoothed. And what I mean by smooth is it's not highly influenced by a single location that has like a high precipitation within that region that we're looking at. So what we see here is with the drought index, we'll call this fairly neutral through the winter period. Um, as we move into the spring, specifically as we move into this period, this is what it's saying is that the highest correlations for these drought indexes peak right here, beginning of May. Um, and to read these, what it means is that as a positive correlation, it means that if it's dry, it's bad. With that, um, yeah, the same as with the precipitation. Or sorry, yeah, if it's dry, it's bad. If it's wet, it's good. Um, so you guys can look at this. I'll send it all out to you. If there's any questions, please let me know. I just kind of want to quickly get through some of these things, and um, you guys can ask any questions you have to me. This one I'm pointing out here is the southern region. We're using the southern region's weather data, which is gathered from this area, and then we are comparing it to the southern region's percent of trend yield. There are four different variables we're looking at here. We're looking at the rolling percent of normal rainfall for the past 45 days, which is the blue line. We're looking at the maximum temperature anomaly the past 30 days. Again, it's a rolling 30 days. The minimum temperature, rolling 30 days. And then what is called the dry law. It's a 14-day dry law. I typically look at it in non-cumulative form, but I set it to cumulative here. It's more used in the Midwest to judge influence on corn and soybeans. But I wanted to take a look at it here, and I kind of have some good influence. And we can see here it does pick up some good correlations with some of the data. So this one here, it starts on March 1st, and the reason I did this is I want to bring attention to where we are now and where we're going with the correlations and where the peak period is. So we can see both these two lines here. Red line here is the past 30-day rolling anomaly for maximum temperature. Line right below it is the minimum temperature past 30-day anomaly. So we see moving through March, these past 30 days, if you think about March 30th, so all of March, typically, if it's a warm March, it's going to be a better yield. That's what this is saying, this correlation for the South. The reasoning behind that is twofold. One, there's typically no late frost that would come into effect, but it also moves along the tillering stages, allows it to get into these stages here more quickly, allows for more robust vegetative growth, and from there, you get more yields. Just like any, like we saw last year with corn, if you get planted late, it's not good. So for this, it's the same idea, around that. This blue line here, what we're looking at is the percentage of normal rainfall the past 45 days. So from March 1st, all the way on, it is a positive correlation here, which means if it's above average, it's better than, it's going to be higher yields. Makes sense. However, it starts to elevate and peaks around here, saying the past 45 days here are the most important. I do want to look at some of the other variables. I would tend to think that the key period would probably be more, the past 30 days, say April into parts of May, but I guess it does carry on and through there. However, it shows here that we are peaking right now at this period for the correlations on these values. And I can get those values to you. I think that I have them, but I won't mess around trying to find them here. I just want to get through this quickly for you. Currently, looking at our current situation, this is what we call the correlation switch. We're moving out of the period where warm weather is good for yield, and it's quickly plunging to warm weather being bad for yield. At the moment, we're May 1st, it's neutral. That means that the past 30 days or past 45 days, the correlations have no influence on it, on the final yield value. However, it is in a negative slope at the moment. We see it quickly crash. By the time we reach May 15th, it's bottoming out here with sub negative, negative correlations around negative 0.5 all the way to negative 0.6. What's of real interest here that I found, and the reason I put the minimum temperature in here, is what we get is this split here. There is some rationale that actually explains it within the phenology, but I'm not going to go into that at the moment. If somebody has a question, feel free to ask. However, what you see here is the high temperatures here are the big ones we have to look for. So we move forward, the low temperatures will come into kind of line with the the low and high temperature will come back into alignment with correlations as we move through. And this you see at the end. Oh, there's obviously a reason. Why are they coming up? Well, because have moved through flowering for the majority, especially in the southern region, and are into harvest. And being that this is kind of the big period, right where we are now in the southern region, you're out of that time period, so those are going to come back up towards neutral. The last one I mentioned previously is this kind of dry law, or dry rule, whatever you want to call it. It's just a little thing I put together. What it is the past 2 weeks, if they've had less than, I think it's 18 millimeters of rain, it flags that area. So it's a percentage of area. And what I do here is I accumulated it from March 1st on. And the point of this, I just want to test it, see what I got out of it. And what I did find was that it did perform how I expected. And what I was expecting out of this was that in this March period here, we'd be basically in the neutral zone, and that is where we are, right in this neutral zone. Um, and now it begins to fall here. Um, so what that means is that you look back, 2 weeks from this as it's moving back, and it's accumulating as it's moving forward. So the slope should be, kind of linear until we bottom out. And what we notice here is it's continuing linear here. It bottoms out right about the same time the temperatures do. So what that says to us is that the key period would be, I'm just going to stretch our now period, key period now until we'll say May 30th, first, we'll just say May. How about that? Does that sound good? Um, the other aspect of it in terms of importance is during the flowering period. We all know that if there's heavy rains, it can cause issues. But we'll address that if that concern, because that's kind of a different concern. That's more fungus. Uh, Going quickly through the forecast, I've already been kind of talking enough. Is I did want to mention, if those didn't see this earlier, we are bringing in some rainfall over the next 15 days for the entire region of the Russian winter wheat. In the first 5 days, it's going to be above average in the south, and rainfall will be primarily isolated to the center region, some into parts of far western Volga. Those are the two regions we don't really care too much about at the moment. It's not a big issue with their rainfall. If you look into the southern region, the one area that will start picking up potentially above average rains, I'm leaning slightly below to normal rainfall over the next 5 days, 4 days, is northern Rostov into Rostov. As you move further south into the other oblasts, the odds of picking up above average rain the next 5 days do decrease. However, that changes. This is the big story right here. The 6 to 10 day period, it could be a massive market mover. We are seeing wheat fall today. I'm not sure if that's associated more with the oil prices or uh, what all is going on with that. Obviously, there was concerns with Russia on that end. However, this really could move the market. If this occurs, we're looking at here is substantial rainfall. Rainfall enough to potentially make up the deficits in parts of the southern region, and it's right at the period that we need it. So this is probably the story that we have to follow very, very closely, and it's on all models. Temperature, nothing really to worry about temperature-wise. It's actually this is being driven by two fronts. This is a warm front here, and you'll see a cold front coming through later. However, neither of these bring any kind of real concerns in temperature-wise. Flipping into the 11 to 15 day, I don't put much confidence in the 11 to 15 day period. But to summarize, what you're seeing here is generally see kind of a cold front sinking through, probably cooler temperatures across the north. No major issues. It's going to freeze or any kind of frost issues. Rainfall, I think what we're going to have is near normal. You look across these and it's showing, more rains to the north, which we've been seeing recently. I do think that into Rostov, you will see some near normal rainfall, with lower rainfall towards the end, towards the 13 to 16 day period. And then the next question is the next storm system that moves through. But again, the big story is, I'll jump forward quickly to the 6 to 10 day period. If this can validate, this is in inches. If this can validate, it's a complete game changer for the Russian winter wheat crop. And I'll discuss Ukraine in a later update. However, I don't want to keep this going forever. I will kind of send this out, and in the future, I'll be doing full reports on these, and try to do them daily or at least multiple times a week. I just don't want to keep you here for too long listening to me ramble. Last thing I want to show you was the soil moisture. There's big issues with the soil moisture regarding observations. So I wanted to bring attention to one thing here, is that this top one, this Samap and Smoss, they're both showing good soil moisture for our northern areas. Percentage of soil moisture also showing very good things. The thing that doesn't kind of, you know, jive right with me is this SMAP uh, here is just it's showing horrid soil moistures for here, where it's not as bad with the SMOS. And typically, I prefer the SMOS and some of the other ones do. But if you look into these over here on the percentage of soil moisture, SMOS and SMAP are satellite. These bottom two are the World Meteorology Organization and the U.S. Air Force, and they actually do usually have ground observations. They're not solely satellite based. So looking at this, it's not doesn't look that overall that bad. However, our guys on the ground, I trust them. They're on the ground, and they are saying it's not too good. So I think that's who we have to rely on is who's on the ground because this area does not have good coverage. I guess I'll leave it at that. I won't go through the whole presentation, slideshow. If you want to go through it here, it's all here. Um, but I'll send this out to you. Please let me know if there's any questions, and I'll be sending out this type of thing more often, and I'll try to become a little better with my media skills. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Um, Stay safe. Thanks.